As the quote goes, this ring is different from the others. In my last video, we crafted a promising theory that possibly solves the mystery behind Halo Infinite's ancient ring artifacts. If you haven't seen it, it's one of the best videos I've ever made, so check the description down below if you'd like to find a link. In this video, we're going to be crafting a theory about an entirely different ring, the one we're all standing on. ᶑᶗᴄᴄ, Installation 07, whatever you want to call it. It's a finely crafted illusion, which, I believe, is the reason why nobody can really agree on where Master Chief and Discount Cortana ended up at the end of the game. So, what do we mean by illusion? Well, despite seeing ᶑᴗᴄᴄ from several perspectives, we still have no idea what ᶑᴗᴄᴄ looks like. Every time it appears, whether as a distant object or a glowing hologram, it never looks the same. Now, the ring being an inconsistent illusion is fine, as it never happens to matter throughout the entire game, until we stumble upon the end cutscene for Halo Infinite. With the protagonist being portaled to an unknown location, the illusion of a broken ᶑᴗᴄᴄ in the distance is the only landmark players have when trying to determine the unknown location. Naturally, everyone's first thought is that Chief ended up on the other side of the ring. It makes sense as the climate is different and you can see ᶑᴗᴄᴄ's broken section in the background of the scene, the same section where the main campaign takes place. The dusty atmosphere is similar to what we've seen before in Halo Infinite's 2018 reveal trailer, which showcases a desert biome. But as an imaginary archaeologist, I've gone frame by frame in an attempt at uncovering the truth of Chief's location. Brushing away reality, it doesn't take long to realize something doesn't quite add up. If Chief is on the opposite side of the ring, the broken section should appear much thinner, as it's supposedly 10,000 kilometers away. And standing on ᶑᴗᴄᴄ, which is obviously in the shape of a ring, you should never be able to see the ring on the horizon. The ring itself should only be visible by looking upwards, as gravity pulls the player's feet downwards. Many people have theorized that Chief isn't on the ring anymore and that it's actually some other celestial body, like a moon or a nearby planet, and this might explain the perspective of the ring. Unfortunately, both of these are easily debunked, as during the end cutscene we catch a glimpse of ᶑᴗᴄᴄ's trademark hexagonal pillars. The next most popular theory is that Chief and the gang are on a piece of floating ring debris outside of the perimeter of what's left of the ring. For this theory, this hologram in particular is a good candidate for representing Chief's location. Now, I'll admit this is the theory that I was invested in for a long time. Standing on a chunk of the ring that is detached and misaligned with the rest would explain how we see the remainder of the ring on the horizon, as well as the proximity of the ring. And this theory has even more concrete evidence supporting it. We've all seen this exact perspective before. In the opening scene of the game, Chief is floating through space outside of the ring. As he comes to, he gazes upon the broken installation and we can see a distinct breaking pattern in the ring itself. Compared to the breaking pattern of the ring in the end cutscene, they are nearly a perfect match. But this is where that theory begins to fall short. Later in the cutscene, Chief takes a slow look around. During his panning, you can see the ring is actually making an appearance behind the mountains, a sight that shouldn't exist from Chief's perspective unless he was inside of the ring's perimeter. Something like this can be demonstrated by looking around in the opening scene. The ring simply curves away. Now, some people have tried disputing that the shape we see behind the mountains is even part of the ring, claiming it's just some flat-topped hill or a forerunner structure, and there's actually even evidence to support this. When Chief continues his sexy twirl, we can see a section of the mountains that contains a gap, and there's no ring to be seen in the background on the horizon. But going frame by frame following Chief's initial portal, we can easily make out not just the top of the ring, but the bottom as well. In my eyes, this all but confirms that Chief is floating on a piece of slanted ring inside of the perimeter of the intact ring. With this new evidence, only one thing really stood in the way from confirming it. If we're standing on a floating chunk inside the perimeter of the ring, why does it match the perspective from Chief's earlier position outside of the ring? Initially, as a game developer in my past life, I picked up on a few clues. In the end cutscene, the atmosphere is dusty, scattering the intense, blooming sunlight that is silhouetting the broken section of the ring. Perhaps this was done intentionally to hide the fact that 343 simply reused the asset of the ring from the beginning of the game. In the opening, we can clearly see that the model has a metallic texture, so the lighting hides the ring's texture that exposes the illusion. a shortcut that works quite well and is strengthened by the fact that the other section of the ring isn't even ring-shaped, just a rectangle, revealing the now obvious illusion that this specific mountain is covering the connection between two different 3D models. Everything was falling into place, but as an imaginary archaeologist, I dug up even more proof that Ćiƒ is floating on the inside of the ring. Remember way back, around 30 seconds ago, when I mentioned that there's a lighting trick being used to hide the texture of the ring? Well, if we remove the lighting source, we can actually reveal that texture. Obviously, this is a cutscene though, we can't just wait around until nighttime, so we're gonna have to get creative. Going frame by frame as the pelican approaches, it actually blocks the blooming light from the camera's perspective, if not for just but a moment. And, sitting in the background, clear as day, we can see the earthy terrain that's present on the inside of the ring's perimeter. And to me, that's the smoking gun I was looking for. Now, perhaps the lighting was intended to specifically ignite curiosity in the player. At the end of the day, people always try to take a closer look at things they can hardly see, and are rewarded with the truth if they're dedicated. Sure, there's no floating chunk of ring above us when we take a look up in the campaign, even after the end cutscene is over, but with the other game development shortcuts that appear in the end cutscene combined with the recently uncovered mid-credits scene that was removed from the game, it's likely that 343 was rushing Halo Infinite's campaign ending out the door. So, somewhere up there's a floating desert within Zeta Halo's perimeter, and the devs wanted to show that somehow, but only had a single 3D model of the ring to work with for the end scene. They bumped up the lighting and atmosphere to silhouette the ring so it was less noticeable, but the ring still succeeded in telling the player visually that they're not in Kansas anymore. And without that visual storytelling, there would have never been a spark in the Halo community attempting to dig deeper. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any other theories about this or other mysteries entirely, join my Discord in the description. You can also find a playlist down there with all my recent Halo lore and theory videos, so make sure to check that out. If you guys want to see videos similar to this one, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.